Was trading a generational talent for an injury-prone big man the most catastrophic front office blunder in NBA history? Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal will leave you absolutely stunned. We're diving deep into one of the most controversial trades in recent NBA memory, a decision so mind-boggling, so utterly perplexing, that it has left basketball fans scratching their heads for 9 months straight. This is the story of how the Dallas Mavericks threw away their future and how the Los Angeles Lakers struck absolute gold. Picture this: February of last season. The basketball world stopped spinning. News breaks that Luka Doncic, yes, the Luka Doncic, a 26-year-old superstar who had carried the Mavericks on his back for years, was being shipped to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis. The shockwaves rippled through every corner of the NBA universe. Fans were left speechless, analysts were bewildered, and somewhere in Dallas, a decision was being made that would haunt the franchise for decades to come. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Why would Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison pull the trigger on such a seismic move? What could possibly justify trading away a 5-time All-Star entering his prime years? Well, my friends, ESPN's Tim McMahon just dropped a bombshell report that finally pulls back the curtain on this disaster. And the truth is even more jaw-dropping than we imagined. Let's set the scene inside the Mavericks war room. Harrison sits down with owner Patrick Dumont, and he's got a pitch. Not just any pitch, he's building a case from a pure business perspective. The numbers are staggering. Dončić would be eligible to sign a 5-year, $345 million Supermax contract extension that summer. That's not just money, that's generational wealth, franchise-altering commitment, the kind of investment that defines an organization for half a decade. But Harrison wasn't seeing dollar signs as an investment in greatness. No, he was seeing red flags everywhere he looked. He pointed to Dončić's conditioning concerns, whispered about poor off-court habits, highlighted those nagging recurring calf strains. His prediction? Dončić's body would inevitably break down under the weight of that massive contract, leaving Dallas holding the most expensive bag in basketball history. Here's where the drama intensifies. At the time of these discussions, Dončić was sidelined with a calf strain, and according to McMahon's report, there were several heated disagreements between Dončić's camp and Harrison regarding the recovery process. Harrison weaponized these disputes, painting them as irrefutable proof that his superstar wasn't fully committed to the Mavericks organization. Can you imagine? A player who had given everything to Dallas, who had dragged them to the playoffs year after year, suddenly being portrayed as uncommitted because of disagreements over medical treatment? But Harrison wasn't just tearing down Dončić's value. He was simultaneously building up his alternative vision. Enter Anthony Davis, the defensive anchor Harrison had known since Davis was a teenager dominating the AAU circuit. Their relationship ran deep, and Harrison sold Dumont on a tantalizing dream, building the league's best defense around Davis's elite interior presence and rim protection abilities. On paper, it sounds almost reasonable, doesn't it? Trade offensive brilliance for defensive dominance. Swap a guard with conditioning questions for a big man with championship pedigree. Create an identity built on stopping opponents rather than outscoring them. Harrison was essentially betting that Davis's defensive prowess would be more valuable than Dončić's offensive genius. There was just one catastrophic flaw in this entire calculation. One massive oversight that has now exposed Harrison's decision as potentially the worst executive move in recent memory. Here's the brutal truth that Harrison failed to recognize. Conditioning problems can be fixed, but injury concerns are largely beyond a player's control. Think about that distinction for a moment. It's absolutely critical to understanding why this trade has become such an unmitigated disaster for Dallas. Dončić's fitness issues? Those are correctable. They require discipline, dedication, proper training regimens, and accountability, but they're entirely within a player's power to address. And guess what happened? The moment Dončić landed in Los Angeles, he proved exactly that. Over the summer, the Slovenian sensation transformed his body, elevated his conditioning to elite levels, and showed up for his first full Lakers season looking like a completely different athlete. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis, talented as he undoubtedly is, has battled injury demons throughout his entire career. These aren't problems you can simply work harder to overcome. When your body breaks down, when soft tissue injuries keep recurring, when you're constantly managing pain and rehabilitation, no amount of commitment or dedication can guarantee availability. And true to form, Davis suffered another significant calf strain with Dallas, missing extended time and leaving the Mavericks without their prized acquisition. The irony is almost too painful to bear. Harrison traded away a player for conditioning concerns, only to acquire someone whose injury history was far more problematic and far less controllable. If you want to understand just how spectacularly this trade has backfired, look no further than early April of last season. Dončić returned to Dallas, not as a Maverick, but as a Laker, and absolutely torched his former team. 45 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, on the road, against the organization that decided he wasn't worth a supermax extension. Can you imagine the emotions coursing through him that night? Every bucket was a statement. Every assist was a reminder. Every moment of brilliance screamed, "You gave up on me, and now you're paying the price." The American Airlines Center, once his home, became the stage for one of the most dominant revenge performances in recent NBA history. And it wasn't just one game. Dončić has been absolutely sensational in purple and gold. He helped Los Angeles reach the 50-win mark last season, secured the number 3 seed in the Western Conference, and established himself as the franchise's undisputed future. This season, he's operating on an entirely different level. Through 12 games, Dončić is averaging a staggering 34.6 points, 9.0 assists, and 8.5 rebounds per game. The Lakers are sitting pretty at 8-4, and their superstar acquisition looks every bit like a future Hall of Famer entering his absolute prime. Here's the question that should keep Mavericks fans awake at night. What if Harrison had simply been patient? What if he had given Dončić the summer to address his conditioning? What if he had worked through the disagreements about recovery processes instead of viewing them as proof of disloyalty? The evidence suggests Dončić would still be wearing a Mavericks uniform today, leading Dallas toward championship contention rather than doing it for their rivals. All those concerns about his body breaking down? Completely unfounded so far. All those worries about commitment? Erased by his transformation and current performance level. Harrison made a calculated business decision based on projections and predictions. He looked at Dončić and saw risk. He looked at Davis and saw salvation. But in doing so, he forgot the most fundamental rule of NBA team building. You don't trade generational offensive talents in their mid-20s unless you're absolutely certain they can't or won't improve. This trade represents more than just a personnel move gone wrong. It's a cautionary tale about overvaluing relationships, underestimating player development, and making irreversible decisions based on fixable problems. Harrison's close personal connection to Davis clearly clouded his judgment. His frustration with Dončić's camp during injury recovery turned disagreements into deal breakers. The Mavericks are now left watching their former franchise cornerstone dominate the Western Conference in a Lakers uniform while their expensive acquisition struggles to stay on the court. Meanwhile, Los Angeles pulled off highway robbery, acquiring a superstar who has already validated every bit of faith they placed in him. As we watch Dončić continue his assault on the record books this season, as we see him orchestrate the Lakers' offense with surgical precision, as we witness him transform his body and his game to reach even greater heights, one question becomes impossible to ignore. How did Dallas let this happen? The answer, as McMahon's reporting reveals, comes down to a fundamental miscalculation about what problems can be solved and what risks are truly worth taking. Harrison bet against human potential and paid the ultimate price. So here's my question for you. Do you think the Mavericks will ever recover from this catastrophic mistake, or will this trade haunt them for the next decade? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your take on this absolute disaster. And if you're as shocked as I am by these revelations, smash that like button and let's keep this conversation going.